The Hypnotist's Curse. Rebecca Charlene Charmer drummed her fingers on the edge of her desk, staring at the spreadsheet that refused to add up correctly. A financial analyst by day, Rebecca was also a secret sorceress, a fact she carefully hid from her colleagues at Pinnacle Banking Corp. Her magic was subtle, finding lost keys, ensuring her coffee stayed perfectly hot, making traffic lights turn green just as she approached. But today, something more sinister than quarterly reports occupied her thoughts. 3 banks in the city had been robbed in the past month. In each case, a teller had calmly emptied their drawer, walked out the front door, and handed the money to a man in a dark sedan, before snapping out of their trance, confused and horrified. The police were baffled. Rebecca wasn't. She recognized the signs of hypnotic manipulation immediately, and she had a growing suspicion about who might be responsible. Eli Montague, the new business development manager, had joined Pinnacle 3 months ago. Charming, with a silky voice and penetrating gaze, he'd risen quickly in the company's ranks. Everyone liked Eli, perhaps too much. Rebecca had noticed how people around him seemed oddly compliant, their eyes slightly unfocused after conversations with him. Yesterday, she'd overheard him on the phone. The First Metropolitan branch on 7th Street, Thursday, noon sharp. The next morning, First Metropolitan had been robbed, at noon. Rebecca peered over her cubicle wall. Eli sat at his desk, those hypnotic eyes scanning a document, one hand twirling an unusual gold coin between his fingers. A focus object for his power, she guessed. She needed evidence before accusing a colleague of magical crimes. But more urgently, she needed a way to counter his abilities before more people became unwitting accomplices to robbery. That evening, Rebecca unlocked the heavy oak door to her apartment and headed straight to her workspace, a small room ostensibly for crafting that contained her grimoires, herbs, and magical implements. Her familiar, a black cat named Binks, watched lazily from atop a bookshelf. "We've got work to do," she told him, pulling down her grandmother's worn leather spellbook. Hours passed as Rebecca pored over protection spells and counter enchantments. Nothing seemed powerful enough to break Eli's hold on his victims. His hypnosis wasn't just suggestion. It was complete control. Around midnight, Binks knocked a small crystal box off the shelf. It landed with a thud, popping open to reveal a locket Rebecca had forgotten. Her great-grandmother's silver mirror amulet. "Binks, you're a genius," she whispered, examining the antique piece. Mirror magic was ancient and powerful, especially for reflection and reversal spells. For 3 nights, Rebecca worked tirelessly, charging the amulet under the waxing moon, inscribing tiny runes along its edge, and infusing it with herbs that enhanced clarity and truth. She crafted a spell that would reflect Eli's hypnotic energy back upon himself. On Friday morning, Rebecca wore the amulet beneath her blouse and approached Eli's desk with a stack of reports. "These need your signature," she said, laying them before him. "Of course." His smile was charming as he reached for his pen, the gold coin appearing between his fingers as if by habit. "While I look these over, Rebecca, why don't you tell me about that special project you've been working on for the executive team?" His voice took on that silky quality, and his eyes, those hypnotic, swirling eyes, locked onto hers. Rebecca felt the pressure of his will pushing against her mind, a subtle command forming. "Tell me everything. Hold nothing back." She grasped the mirror amulet through her blouse and whispered under her breath. "Reflectum totalum, veritas illumina." The amulet warmed against her skin. She saw confusion flash across Eli's face as his power hit the magical mirror and bounced back toward him. He began. Then his expression went slack. "I've been hypnotizing bank tellers to steal money for me," he said in a monotone voice, eyes unfocused. Rebecca hadn't expected such an immediate confession. "Why?" she pressed. "I owe dangerous people, gambling debts. They threaten my family." His voice remained flat as the hypnotic compulsion forced truth from his lips. Rebecca felt a twinge of sympathy, quickly followed by resolve. How much have you stolen? $217,000. It's in a storage unit on Cedar Avenue. Unit 42. She nodded, formulating her next move. Listen carefully, Eli. This is what you're going to do. 2 hours later, Rebecca watched from her car as Eli, still under the influence of his own reflected hypnosis, handed Detective Marquez a duffel bag containing the stolen money and confessed everything. The detective, whom Rebecca had anonymously tipped off, looked stunned, but quickly called for backup. When the spell eventually wore off, Eli would remember everything he'd done, both the crimes and the confession. The justice system would decide his fate, though Rebecca suspected his obvious remorse and the full return of the money would count in his favor. Back at her apartment, Rebecca carefully wrapped the mirror amulet in silk and returned it to its crystal box. Not bad for a financial analyst, she told Binks, who purred in agreement. She'd have to be more vigilant now. If one person with magical abilities had found their way to pinnacle banking, others might follow. But Rebecca Charlene Charmer would be ready, protecting her colleagues and her city from those who would misuse their gifts. As she prepared for bed, she couldn't help but wonder how many other secret sorceresses and wizards were out there, hiding in plain sight like her, using their powers for good or ill. The thought was both thrilling and unsettling. Whatever came next, Rebecca knew one thing for certain. Her days of using magic just for perfect coffee and green lights were behind her. She had found her true calling,